Hello guys, I'm back from another video and today it's about what if Deku never got one for all. So, in the last video we talked about how after the whole events in the training camp after she got her quirk stolen by All For One, well, Mei Hatsume has been, doing pretty well. In fact, she actually feels quite normal even though she doesn't have her quirk anymore. Mostly because her quirk is just allows her to just see 10 times the better sight of a regular old human. But she can obviously just make a, invention that basically is similar to hers. I mean, her quirk is just basically like a magnifying glass at that point. But except, allows her to magnify her sight maybe 10 times or something like that. I can't remember her quirk all that much. So, just imagine her just being her normal self. But she's more determined on making, better inventions, and because she's now quirkless, let's just say she's not been liked ever since. I mean, she doesn't really care, thanks to, Izuku being quirkless, even though he's quite strong and doesn't really care that he's quirkless. Well, it started motivating her. After one night of, eating a horrible pizza that she made, well, she would be a new chosen for the caster class. In this case, she was going to be trained by Leonardo da Vinci, otherwise known as a great, painter, but not only that, a great inventor just like her. I mean, she's not, well known at all, I mean, in the anime verse, but still. So, after she woke up from that, weird-ass dream and gone to the toilet, she would see her father, aka Mr. Hatsume, was talking to Da Vinci herself. Well, Mr. Hatsume was, at the time, he thought that was, some sort of teacher of hers or something like that. So she, he would let her in. After letting her in, she would basically just, tells him about, being late for his job as he would leave. Leaving both, Mei Hatsume and Da Vinci alone. Da Vinci would basically tell her that she's one of the chosen and basically explain just, basically just, similar to Miracle and Mount Lady. So, as when she does, she would be, brought to her mindscape, where she's brought to the same workshop as in her dream. And she was going to be trained by Leonardo, as when she does get fully trained, she would start using her powers, in this case, the power to basically create anything that she wants. But except she needs, mechanical parts, for example, I don't know, wood or something, as she would create a exosuit from the, scrap materials that she had in her room, specifically mechanical parts. When she does, she would create a beautiful exosuit, almost resembling a typical steampunk type suit or something like that. So, after doing that, she would basically, go into another shop, or more specifically a motor shop for getting more stuff so she can, try out her powers with. But she encounters both, Mirko and Mount Lady. Apparently Mount Lady lied because she's pretending to be a cosplayer, because she's planning on making a vigilante costume for herself. After all, because, not being a hero anymore and because, she doesn't have a quirk, she decided to become a vigilante. And as for, Mirko, she would also want to get some, modifiers. Specifically modifiers for her, guns, or more specifically, her rifles. So she can, become a better vigilante. After all, after being trained by Nobunaga and, for Mount Lady, aka, Nero Claudius, she would basically want to, better herself. And after knowing about the other chosen, she wants to meet them as well. So, after going into the shop, and also, by the way, they also found out that they're apparently going into the same shop. After they got their supplies, they would start leaving, going into a back alleyway, as they meet, for the first time, meeting, Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper would explain that all of them are also, the chosen, or all of them are basically the chosen, as they were surprised that all three of them were also chosen. So, Jack the Ripper would give them a location to have a meeting with. Apparently, they're gonna have a meeting that will change the course of this, forsaken world. She basically said it like that. As she would leave, as all three of them would basically exchange contacts, as they would all leave to do their own thing. And so, that is basically what happened last episode. So, let's talk about what happens next. So, we finally get back to Izuku right now. So, after the whole events in the, UH trading, camp, Izuku is pretty much angry of himself for basically leaving his, comrade, specifically Mordred. I think I remember Scotty, yeah, Scotty and, Moriarty to basically be killed by All For One. Even though he didn't really, talk to them for that long, he does consider them as comrades. After all, they were quirkless just like him. So, Izuku is currently now on his desk, basically thinking in his mind. And after finding out about, some of the news, well, he would find out that the, USB, well, was thrown out. Because one of the Wild Wild Pussycats would think that was like some sort of like empty USB and decide to throw it. He would be kind of pissed, but thankfully he had a copy of it. Specifically, the copy of the USB from the, I can't remember which part, but the, USB that contains all the information about Bakugo and his assholatry. So, after doing all of that, he would get a call. A call from Jack the Ripper, aka Himiko Toga, as she would say this. "Oh, it's been a while, Kukolin." As he would say this. "So, what is it, Jack?" As she would say this. "Oh, you could just call me Himiko. And besides, Jack is just our, or at least my, vigilante name." As he would say this. "So, why did you call yourself Lee or something like that?" As she would say this. "I guess you could say it's the voices in my head." She would start to laugh a little bit as Izuku would think in his mind, "Creepy." As he would say this. Anyway, what do you want to call me for?" As she would say this. "Well, I'm planning to have a meeting. And, by the way, do you have the information about the Hero Commission's wrongdoings?" As he would say this. "Yeah, I already got the USB from Mr. Hatsume." As she would say this. "Oh, and by the way, I found the rest of the chosen, or at least the new ones after the deaths of Mordred, Moriarty, and Scotty." As he would say this. "Wait, really? Oh, that was fast." As she would say this. "Well, I am the best. Anyway, just prepare, because this meeting is gonna be quite important. And also, bring Mr. Stain. He's also gonna be a part of this little mission of ours." As Izuku would say this. "Sure." So, after, getting that phone call, he would basically hang up, as he would get his not hero costume, I meant his vigilante costume, because remember, he's a vigilante. Wait for a second. After getting his, vigilante costume, he would start to wear it as he would contact Stain, aka, the hero killer, about the, meeting. So, after getting informed of this, he would, basically meet up with Stain as they started going towards that location. In this case, the location would be in a, I guess you could say it's kind of like a park, but more specifically, an abandoned amusement park. Which, when Izuku saw it, well, after seeing all of the decor, which is clown-themed, well, Izuku would start to get creeped out. Even though he's seen much scarier things, like, for example, well, Kyroid, aka the literal, monster from under the sea of, his time basically training with Skahawk and, Kukulin. So, after he arrived there, he would basically kick down the, large metal gate. As one of them would say this, being, Stain. "So, this is the meeting place?" As he would say this. "That's what, she told me at least." As they started going into the, amusement park as they would see the rest of the members. Specifically, wait for a second, he would see two of the members, specifically Darius the Third, which Darius seems a bit upset. In fact, he looks kind of sad. And Queen Europa, which Queen Europa seems to be indifferent. What do I mean by this? Well, she seems to be quite, stoic right now. Instead of her typical, kind and, warm demeanor, she seems a bit cold. Kind of like Tsunade from, Naruto, even though I kind of forgot her personality at all. I think I remembered her being, mad at people, basically calling her old. If I'm wrong, just comment down below. So, one of them would say this, being Darius. So, you finally arrived. As he would say this. So, Darius. As he would say this. Yes, comrade. As he would say this. Well, you definitely seem a bit different. You sound a bit sad. As he would say this. I guess you're right. After my allies, my friends, Mordred and Scotty, after they sacrificed themselves, I couldn't live with myself. I felt guilty. And for, Queen Europa, she would say this. Yeah, after the death of my only friend, you probably already know him. As he would say this. You mean, wait for a second. You mean Moriarty? As she would say this. Yeah, after his death, I had to tell my, parents about that. But I sort of have to change it a little bit. As he would say this. What do you mean? As she would say this. Well, I kind of lied to them, which I felt angry at myself for doing that. As he would say this. Why? Did you have something between you two or something? As she would say this. Yeah, we were orphans. Until we got adopted by our parents. Or at least, you probably get it. I failed them. I was meant to be your older sister. I meant, wait for a second. I meant to say, I was meant to be his older sister, but I was a coward. I just left him there. I'm angry at myself. I just felt angry. She would start to cry a little bit, as he would say this. Anyway. So, where's Jack? As they would hear the sound of Jack, basically up in one of the Ferris wheels, basically laughing like a maniac, as he would say this, or she, because remember, she's a girl. She would say, finally, all of you finally arrived. As she would basically just jump off the Ferris wheel, as she would basically stick the landing, basically landing on one foot. As she would say this. So, everybody has finally arrived. As one of them would say this, being Darius. Except for the representative for Saber, Caster, and Archer. As she would say this. Oh yeah, I already found them. As they would say this. Really? So, what time are they going to be, arriving? As she would say this. I don't know. Probably they're planning on going here, maybe fashionably late. As Stain would say this. Anyway, wait for a second. I meant, everybody would say this, so you finally have found them? As she would say this. Yes, they're probably gonna be fashionably late. But before they finally arrive, I'm gonna be telling you something, Kukolin. As he would say this. What is it? As she would say this. Can you give me the USB? As he would say this. Sure. So, after giving the USB to, Jack, she would say this. Good. So it has all of the information about the wrongdoings of the Hero Commission. As he would say this. Yes. But I do have one request. As she would say this. Really? Then what is it? She would give off this more maniacal, almost like light Yagami type, like, fucking smile. As he would say this, I want you to show this to everybody. As you give off another USB. In this case, a copy of the USB that, has all of the information about Bakugo and all the wrongdoings that he had done before basically going to UA. And maybe still, or maybe like all the way up to UA at that point, because he was still being an asshole at that point. As she would say this, well, this is quite interesting. As they would hear the sound of, people walking. As they would hear this, hey, hello there, fellow chosen. As they would look over and see Mirko, Mount Lady, and finally Mei Hatsume. So, all three of them are basically wearing like the, same outfits as their respective heroic spirits. Mirko, basically the final ascension to, Oda Nobunaga. Basically the same for Nero Claudius, aka, wait for a second, Mount Lady. And finally for Da Vinci, aka, Mei Hatsume, she's also wearing, the same costume as her, but except all three of them are basically wearing masks. In this case, for, Mirko, she's wearing a similar mask to, Skull from, Persona 5, but except it has, a black, pure black, coloration with several lines or almost like tribal tattoos on the mask, that are colored blood red. And for, Mount Lady, aka, Nero Claudius, instead of wearing a mask, she's wearing a, veil. The veil would be... What the heck is that sound? Jesus. The veil would be blood red, and seems to have roses on top of that. Specifically, pure white roses with a fade to red. And as for Da Vinci, aka Mei Hatsume, she's wearing the same outfit, or, mask or whatever. But the mask would be pure bronze and seems to be covering her eyes, even though she can clearly see everything. Like, she's probably imagine what's his face? Daredevil? But except, she's not blind. For some reason, it's basically similar to those two-way mirrors. Like, one side is basically you can't see anything, but the other side you can see through people there or something like that. Basically similar to that. So, after seeing all three of them, Izuku would say this. So, I'm guessing you're the new representatives for the caster, saber, and archer class, I'm guessing. As one of them would say this. Well, yeah, says, Mount Lady, in the, basically just disguise herself. As she would say this. You may call me Nero Claudius. As he would say this. Nero Claudius, as in the Roman Emperor? As she would say this. Yeah, yeah, I guess you could say that, but for some odd reason, Nero Claudius is a girl. As he would spit his, spit a little bit, as he would say this. Wait, you're telling me that Nero Claudius is, no way, you're joking, right? As she would say this. No, I'm not joking. As she would say this, being, Mirko. You can just call me Nobunaga. As you would say this. Excuse me. What? As she would say this. Yeah, I'm the representative for the archer class. Even though I use freaking guns. As he would say this. Oh, not that, I mean... You're... Oda Nobunaga. A.k.a. a famous warlord. Specifically freaking male. As she would say this. Yeah. Why? I mean... She did tell me that she was a girl, and in fact, people believed that she was a boy because, apparently her subjects were a bit too afraid of her, to the point that they decide to become a little bit cowardly and decide to, portray her as a boy. As he would say this. Please tell me you're joking. As one of them would say this, specifically, wait for a second, Mei Hatsume, as she would say this. You may call me Leonardo. as you would say this. Please don't tell me. As you would say this, Leonardo da Vinci. As Izuku at this point is basically just like face palming, saying to himself, this must be a joke. As, Jack would say this. Finally. Now, all of you have finally introduced yourself. We should talk about the plan. She would give off this even more sadistic smile, as she would explain that all of them are going to be, bringing in the information, or specifically the USBs, to a certain news station. In this case, a popular one. Apparently, they're planning on, broadcasting this to the entire world, and for the other team, or more specifically, the other team is going to be, killing the Hero Commission. And I mean killing them, as in murdering them, slaughtering them. As all three, or more specifically, all four of them, specifically Izuku, Mei Hatsume, Mount Lady, and Mirko, are going to be doing the whole, slaughtering of the, Hero Commission. And as for the rest of them, specifically Jack the Ripper, aka Himiko Toga, Darius the Third, and Europa, or Queen Europa, is going to be sending this, information to the news. So, yeah. So, after they were told of this, well, Mirko would say this. So, we're going to be teaming up with you, Mr. Kukulin. And I can't believe that you're, as you'd say this. Well, I did say that in one of the news stations that I didn't have a quirk. As she would say this. I guess so. So I can't believe that you're actually a chosen. I mean, I thought that your, power was a quirk. Says one of them specifically, specifically Mount Lady, as you would say this. Yeah, I guess so, Miss Nero Claudius. I still can't believe that Nero Claudius was a girl. As, Da Vinci, aka, Mei Hatsume would say this. Yeah, I guess so. So, as all three of them would basically, or more specifically, all of them would leave, Stain would basically tell Izuku to basically be careful, and also try not to, let's just say impregnate all three of the girls, which, when they heard that, Izuku would start blushing, saying, You don't really need to say that, for God's sake, as you would say this. Oh, come on, it was absolutely funny. And besides, yeah, I'm basically kind of like your dad. After all, you did say that you don't really have a father figure at all, as you would say this, but still, you don't really need to say that, as all three of the girls were basically, blushing profusely, as he would say this, being, being Stain. Anyway, I should be leaving, so, be careful, you guys, as he would basically leave, as he was planning on going with, Darius and basically the other guys that were planning on, bringing the information to the news station. As for all three of them, specifically, Mei Hatsume, wait for a second, Mirko, Mount Lady, and Izuku, they all four of them, I meant all four of them, not all three, god fucking damn it, all four of them are going to be trying to, kill the Hero Commission. As Izuku would say this. Well, I can't wait to beat them asses. As he would basically bring out his spear, as he would say this. So, are you ready, ladies? As all three of them would say this. Sure. I mean, it's my first time actually doing it, so, says, Mei Hatsume, aka Da Vinci, as she would say this. Anyway, because this place is, as she would start looking around the entire, abandoned amusement park, she would say this. I think I should probably make some new weapons for myself. She would basically smile as, wait for a second. As Mirko would say this. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. As she would basically bring out her modified, muskets. Which, instead of being the typical, muskets that, Oda Nobunaga used, instead, just imagine them, similar to, Oda Nobunaga's, specifically the Avenger version of hers, gun. Or more specifically, the literal, minigun that she had. So, imagine it just basically like that. As Izuku would say this. Well, that's a bit much. As she would say this. What? I kinda like this thing. It's heavy, filled with ammo, and it can burn through a lot, and I mean a lot of quirky users in a fucking instant. As she would give off this more dumb, like this almost like crazy ass look. As Izuku would say this. For some reason I feel something for you. As she would say this. What is that supposed to mean? As you'd say this. Whatever. He would basically sigh. As for, Nero Claudius, aka, wait for a second. Aka Mount Lady, she would say this. Yeah, I can't really wait. I feel kind of a bit nervous. As you would say this. So it's your first time as well? As she would say this. Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, Nero Claudius did, teach me a lot, so... As he would say this, being Izuku. I see. As she would say this. So, I can't wait to finally use Isosfestus for its actual purpose. As she would bring out Isosfestus, being, the blade that, Nero Claudius wielded. A pure white blade that almost vaguely resembles a flame. And I mean barely. I mean, in game and also in many of the illustrations, it definitely looks, or at least vaguely looks like a flame if you're like drunk and you're squinting. But still, it looks like, or at least similar looks like a flame. I should say this. I can't wait to take down those bastards. After hearing about all of the injustices of this world, as he would say this. Me too. As to would hear the sound of footsteps, specifically gigantic-ass footsteps, as they would look over, as they would see... Oh boy. They would see Da Vinci riding on some sort of gigantic-ass freaking mech. It's about like the same size as like, I don't know, maybe like... Just imagine the mech, the same size as the same size as a M1A2 Abrams tank. But the actual look of the goddamn mech kind of resembles like the I think it was called like the Metal Gear Ray. Yeah, kind of. At least I think that's the actual name of the mech from Metal Gear Solid Revengeance. Let me just check. Yeah, it kind of resembles like the Metal Gear Ray, but except the same size as like a M1A2 Abrams tank. As Da Vinci, aka Hatsumi, would say this. Hey guys! As, well, Izuku, aka Kokolin, would say this. The heck did you make that? And how the hell did you get that thing? As she would say this. Oh, that's my special ability. Because I was trained by Da Vinci, and she was a great inventor and artist, well, I sort of make this. Thanks to the, leftover parts of this, amusement park. As Izuku would just say this. Okay, first of all, that is overpowered. Second of all, can you make me one? As she would say this. Sure, thanks, Kukulin. Or, as he would say this. Oh, just call me by my real name. As he would basically take off his mask, as everybody looks like, all three of them would basically have wide eyes, as, Mount Lady, already knowing that, Izuku is actually Kukulin, she would say this. I freaking knew it! As Izuku would say this. You can call me Izuku. Izuku Satanta. As he would give off this smile, as specifically two of them, specifically, wait for a second. As all three of them would say this. Wait, specifically, like, two of them, or more specifically, like, Meihatsume and, like, Mirko. Mirko would say this. So, you're Izuku? As Izuku would say this. Do I know you? I mean, you definitely sound... Wait a minute. As he would realize those voices, as, Meihatsume would basically take off her mask, as she would say this. So, you're Izuku, as, specifically, wait for a second. As Mirko would basically clench her fist as she would say this. So, my first kiss was stolen by you, eh? I mean, I'm not really mad anymore because of our little date, but I still want to get some payback. She would basically take off her mask, revealing that it's Mirko, as Izuku would say this. Wait, Mirko? May? Oh no. As, Mirko would basically grab her gun, or more specifically the freaking Gatling gun, as she would say this. Time for a payback. As Izuku would say this. Oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, as he would start to run away. And as for, Mirko, she would start running at him at full speed, basically grabbing the gun and start shooting at him randomly. So, yeah. As all three of them, or more specifically two of them, specifically like, Mei Hatsume and, Mount Lady, they would say this. Well, that was unexpected. Or more specifically, like, wait for a second. Mount Lady would say this. Well, I did already know that or at least predicted that, Izuku was actually Kokolin, as she would say this, being, Mei Hatsume. Why did you know that, and how do you know all of this? Like, how did you predict that, Izuku was actually Kokolin, as she would say this? Well, it's from his last name, Satanta. I mean, Satanta is basically just like the old name for Kokolin, as she would say this. Wait, what? As Izuku is still screaming out saying, somebody fucking help me! As, for not Mount Lady, I meant, Mirko would basically start saying, you can't hide from your consequences! As she would start shooting at him once again. So, yeah, unfortunately, this is probably going to be the end of this episode. So, we're going to be leaving it off here. Izuku basically running away from, Mirko basically trying to kill him. And so, this is probably going to be the end of this episode. So, yeah. So, I hope you liked the video. Comment and subscribe. And I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye.